Hey, pilot, welcome back to Ready for Pushback. I'm Nik Fialka. It's an amazing day. It's a little Motivation Thursday, and it's time to get down to it.
Most pilots don't understand what career opportunities are available in the world of aviation. They're making career decisions based on advice from friends or posts on internet forums, meaning they are taking huge risks with their livelihood without having all the details. This podcast was created to help you understand the aviation industry so you can find your dream job. Let's get ready for Pushback. Here's your host and my dad, Nik Fialka.
Recently, I had a 3-day flight with a person. I really enjoy meeting all the people that I get to meet. Everybody's different. Everybody's from a different walk of life. They've got different perspectives, lots of cool stuff. This person that I flew with was very nice. And for 3 days straight, that person talked at me. They told me their whole background. They told me everything they've ever thought about. They told me how they started flying. They told me about their family. They told me about everything. I asked questions. I asked all the questions, all of them. Every question I could think to ask, I asked questions. And he talked at me for 3 days straight. Not once, not during flying, not during lunch or dinner or whatever. 3 days straight, not one question came from that person directed toward me. So we spent 3 days together. I found out everything about that person, but that person found out nothing about me. Now, I don't need that person to ask me the questions. I don't. But it really made me start thinking about all of us and how important it is to ask those questions and to exclude yourself and to look away, stop being self-centered, and start centering yourself on somebody else. Because at the end of that trip, he felt great because I asked all the questions. At the end of that trip, he had no idea who I was. Not that I'm somebody special, but he didn't know if I had a family. He didn't know if I flew at a regional or a military or a ULCC or all three. Or what? He didn't ask a single question. And that's wild. And I want to bring your attention to that because I want you to be the question asker, especially when it comes to aviation-related stuff. And here's why. Because if you're engaging with somebody, maybe you're sitting there talking to a recruiter. That recruiter's job is to just ask questions, right? But nobody's turning the tables and talking to that recruiter and finding out their background and finding out who they are. And so it can feel really transactional because that person is just asking all day long and not receiving any goodness and being able to talk about themselves. It feels great to talk about yourself. It is lovely to talk about yourself. It fills you up. It makes you feel like somebody cares about you. Think about being on a date. Think about being on a date with your spouse. If you are talking at a person the entire time, you don't get the opportunity to let them speak to you and fall into a relationship with you. Shift the focus from yourself to somebody else because it shows interest and it shows that humility that you really want. And it's not always about what you have to say. It's about what you get to hear. Because maybe you're going to hear something really amazing. That relationship that you build when you have the conversation with somebody and you ask them questions, it fosters a connection and it starts to build trust. When you know that person and you know about them, when you see them again, you will have a tighter relationship. But if you just talk at somebody, you don't build that relationship. Those bonds are important, especially in aviation, because each person that you speak with has a story and each person wants to be heard, but nobody gets to be heard. And that is what I think is most crucial. It doesn't matter where you are. Practice it at the grocery. When you are in the checkout line, if you don't go through like the the miserable self-checkout thing, and you get a chance to talk to the people there. I know at the Publix around the corner from my house, there's a guy named Frank who's worked there 27 years, and he started that job right out of high school, and he still does it. And every time I see him, I say hello, I chat with him a little bit, I hear what's going on in his life, and when he sees me, he brightens up. Everybody else that goes through that line, he just does his job and moves on. When he sees me and my kids, like, there's a smile. He knows what's up. He says, "Hey, Nick, I built that relationship." Why? Because it's important. Am I getting anything out of it? Absolutely not. But I have another friend, and that is so awesome. He feels seen. He feels valued. Now take that and multiply it times your life and times your job and times the opportunities that you need. Because when you ask questions of somebody and you build that relationship from them, like, that's when your heart grows. If you get on the phone and you're talking to a person and then you say goodbye and you realize you had not stopped talking for the entire 4 minutes of that phone call, that tells me you're not asking questions. It tells me that you're not building a relationship. It tells me that you don't value that person on the other end of the phone, because when you value them, you validate them. You tell them that they are important. And I'm telling you, your world, the reason you are here is to build those relationships, because the more relationships that you have, the more you get out of life. Not just get from a person, but get out of life. And I'm not even talking about trying to sort out a job. That is a byproduct of asking questions. That is a byproduct of finding out about people, not just handing them a resume or staring them awkwardly in the face or looking at your shoes. If you ask questions, it becomes a two-way street. It becomes dynamic. It becomes meaningful. It's not just a monologue. Monologues are boring. There's a reason why movies don't have real long monologues, because they're boring. So if you are monologuing, you're probably boring. So be careful. And it's tricky. And if you are not a person that normally asks questions, it's uncomfortable. But I challenge you to get weird, to get uncomfortable, to put yourself in a place that you are not typically used to. I think about that when I speak to people all the time. The guy that drives the bus from the employee parking lot to the airport, I chat with him. I ask him questions. If there's 50 people on the bus, I don't get a chance to chat with him. But oftentimes, I might be the only person on the bus. Opportunity. Am I going to get anything out of it? Yeah, a friend. A person that sees me, recognizes me, smiles. Like, that's life. That's the goodness. That's so awesome. And asking questions from somebody else is eventually going to unlock some kind of opportunity for you. That question that you ask, the relationship that you build, there's a little kernel in their subconscious that is growing, that is feeling awesome about you asking questions. And you become different than every other person that they encounter. And so an opportunity will present itself that you can take advantage of just by asking questions, just by finding out about somebody and not just talking at somebody. It was a weird week, but I tried to be very patient. I tried to be very humble and interested and just give them the self-assurance that they need to be whoever they are. They'll never find, they're never going to find this show and know it. I'm talking about them. But to me, this is the opportunity I got out of this 3-day was that I could come talk to you about it. I wrote, like, day 2, I went into my notes app where I keep I've listed hundreds of solo show ideas. And I wrote this down because I thought, man, like, I want everybody else to have a little bit of self-awareness, to ask questions of the people around you, to grow that community, to make the people around you better, because it's more fun like that. It is more fun. I'd have probably had more fun if we were both bantering back and forth. So go have more fun. Go ask those questions. Go do those things that make you a little bit uncomfortable and see how you can grow the relationships in the world around you. That is so good. That is so good. And I think that's probably all I got to say about this. So thanks for listening. Thanks for being part of my family. Thanks for reaching out on the socials. And you know what? I'll see you on Monday. Another interview episode. Hey, pilot, before you go, make sure that you take a quick second, like and subscribe to the podcast. If you are watching on YouTube, thank you so much. If you're listening on one of the podcast streaming services, you guys are the best. So please like it, subscribe to it, and maybe, if you have a chance, write a quick review and tell everybody what you think about the Ready for Pushback podcast. Thanks.